Hi guys, and welcome back to the second video in this series where we're going to be looking at a basic overview on how to create a artwork to print onto fabric. Again, a little bit later I'll be going into more detailed descriptions of each of the steps, but today is the brief overview so you can see the process from start to finish, because I know when I started all I wanted was someone to do a video about where they start and how they get to the end, rather than watching lots of little videos on how to make this seamless, or how to pull in the artwork, or stuff like that. So hopefully this is a fairly good overview on how you go about printing your own fabric. So we will get started. Basically what we're going to have a look at is where to get the art from, a little bit of legal stuff, what software you need. I won't show you where to go and get that. You can look that up, or have a look in the more detailed video a bit later on. How to import the art into the program. Today we're using Inkscape. How to sort of go about designing your art, making it look a bit pretty. Again, we're going to be doing that in more detail later. How to turn the art into a tiling, repeating seamless pattern. We're not going to be looking at panel creation today. Excuse me. Quickly how to check the size it's going to print out, because we all get that wrong, and how to export the file out of Inkscape into a PNG file. Sometimes you'll need a JPEG or another version, and we'll look at that later. And there's plenty of information about how to change the file after you've got it done. And we won't really be going too much into where to get it printed. But as long as you've got your file and you can find somewhere to get it printed, that's what you need, and we'll go through a little bit of that later on as well. So the first thing that we want to have a look at is where to get the art from. Some places are expensive and some places are not as expensive. So there's places like iStockPhoto, Dreamstime, Etsy. A lot of graphic art designers sell work on Etsy, and you can download the little graphics from there. Today our images, which are these ones here, we're going to be using some little ladybugs, these ones here, to create this fabric. It's a very, very, very quick design. It's taken about 30 seconds really, to be perfectly honest. And we're going to download those from this shop here, which is My Clip Art Store. So a lot of the graphic designers will have their own store as well as on say Etsy, or one of the other big ones like Dreamstime, or Creative Market, or something along those lines. Make sure when you are downloading art that you have the license in order to use it. If you're downloading it for personal use, and you're allowed to download it for personal use, make sure that that's what you're doing with it, that you're not making a pencil case out of it and then putting that for sale up on, say, Etsy yourself, because you'll be breaking someone's copyright. And quite frankly, they will get cranky at you and chuck a lawsuit at you, so let's not do that. As much as possible, you really have to be very careful if you're going to be using the fabric for anything other than making your child a dress or something like that. If you're going to post those pictures online, if you're going to put them in your shop or make something else out of that fabric, you need to have a license. And most of these sites will have a detailed description of what you are and are not allowed to do with that. So here in My Clip Art Store, you can purchase the license separately in this particular case. Some stores will have an option of personal use, commercial use, extended commercial use. So can't sell, can sell a little bit, can sell a lot. And they'll also tell you what you exactly what that means. So if you click on the detailed information about the license, it will tell you here what you are allowed to do. Can you make stuff out of it? Can you resell the actual image itself? No. Can you put it on a mug and sell the mug? Yes. So anyway, what we're going to do is you download it, you add it to cart, you download it, you save it in your file on your computer, and hopefully you don't need help with that, because that's a fairly easy little step. Download it onto a file where you can reach it on your computer. Done. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to download Inkscape, which is the program we're using. Of course you can use another one, but for today we're just using basic old Inkscape. It's a free program versus say using Photoshop, which obviously has a lot more bells and whistles. But Inkscape is free, and it's what a lot of people start on. There's also what a lot of people get frustrated on because they don't know how it works, and it took me ages and I made a lot of mistakes. How do we get there? So this is Inkscape. Very, very basically, there's a few things you can do down here. Exporting, you can change, this will change colours and things of your designs. Layers, so you can add layers in your artwork. Not going to be using too many of them today, but it's really helpful if you've got like lots of stuff in your fabric and you've got a base design, and then you've got say some cloud overlays, and then you've got designs, and then you've got more designs on top of that, and then you put a sparkle effect over a few things, and using layers to help move your art through there can be quite helpful. And then we'll use that a little bit later on. So here we are, you've opened up Inkscape, and to start off with it will just look blank in the middle in here, but I've obviously imported a lot of stuff into here already, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. First thing you need to do is get your art onto this blank page. It's not blank now. So up over here in the file, you go import, and you'll navigate to wherever your wherever you've saved your art. Mine's in my Clip Art store, so I have a lot of stuff from there because I downloaded a lot of stuff all in one go. Went into here, go into here, you want the PNG, wherever possible. It's a transparent file, which means that when you import that into your document, here click open, when you put it over the top of the blue, you don't see like a white border around the outside edge. So say these two designs up here, one of these is a PNG, which is, I just need to bump it up the layer. There we go. See how there's no white around it, but this one, let's bump it up the layer, has a white picture around it, which is not what you want for putting on fabric. So this was a JPEG. And this is the PNG image. So make sure when you're getting artwork that this is what you're getting. You want a transparent file, or a file with transparency in it. When you put it over the top of a background or another design, it will go behind it rather than just creating like a square cutout, which is really not what you want to do. Okay, anyway, so you import all your designs. So file, import, select, open, boom. So input everything that you want to bring in. I'm not going to go through the workings with Inkscape too much because this is a quick overview, but the plus and minus on your keyboard will zoom it in and out. One makes it quite big straight away. Also your zoom factor, which is down in this part of your screen down here in the corner. If you put that on 100, that is not the size that it's going to print at. Okay, I made that mistake very early on. I also did that in Toil's Tile Tester, and I thought that this was the size, hang on, this is the correct one, this was the size it was going to print at. It's not. Screen resolution changes all of these things, and I didn't know that when I first started. And yeah, we ended up with some very small fabric because I thought I needed to make my design a lot smaller. Yeah, to do with that. Yeah, don't. The way you check the size of your artwork is by the measurement of your fabric square and your actual design elements. So this square here is 120 by 120 millimeters, so 12 centimeters by 12 centimeters. Oh gosh, hang on, something I really forgot to tell you straight away is make sure you have changed your pixels to be 300 dpi. Do not do anything on your screen until it is 300 dpi. If you've already put stuff in, I'm really sorry, go back and change your pixels to 300 dpi before you do anything else. You cannot change it later at all. if you've made your art in 100, which is I think it comes up 100, 150, whatever it is, you will have to redo the whole thing. That's the other thing I first did, was I did everything at 150, just assuming I could change the pixels later. Didn't work. So you won't be able to do that. You can go into preferences, and I'll go and find it later for you. It's in one of the steps in here. I'll have to go and get that for you later in one of the other videos. But make sure you change that to 300 deeper. As I said, this is just a quick overview video for how to do the process. So you pull in all your artwork that you want to use for your design. You get a square. So up here there's this button here that will make your fabric base. You can click on it and change the 2 axes, the width and the height. I like to make them the same. It makes one of the steps a little bit further on much easier. So if they're both 120 millimeters or both a lot bigger, so 40, 50 centimeters wide. And if you're doing a big floral print, for an adult's dress, you're going to need a bigger tiling repeat than you say would if you're doing, like little baby patterns and things like that. That's designed for, small scale designs. So choose a canvas that's easier. The smaller the canvas, the easier it is for you to fill and design, I find. But that's a personal preference. Cool. So make your square, pull in all your designs, have a bit of a play. So here we are playing around, putting things in around your square. You need to put them off the sides of your square and have things that are sticking up over the top and the bottom and the sides. If you don't, it's going to look like pattern in the middle and then square around the outside edges. So you're going to have pattern, 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 and just blank space around the edges to make sure that the fabric looks really seamless and there's no huge gaps in the middle of it. You want to make sure you do that. So make sure everything's all over. And you have to think sort of a bit three-dimensionally, because this head will repeat down here. These wings will repeat over here. And this bit here will come over here, and vice versa. So you need to have a little bit of a think about where you want to put everything with that. So have a play. Put some elements down on the page wherever you want to put them. Now your next step is to make this seamless. If you were to just chop those bits off and then submit that, you're going to end up with a head with no wings and a body with no head. It's going to look really weird all over your page. So what you want to do is you want to make this tile. There's a couple of ways you can do this. I know some people have had issues with using the steps functions. It is easiest to do it that way though. So have a look at what size you've made your square. As you can see, I've made it 120 by 120. You've made it whatever you've made it. You want to be able to move this exactly 120 millimeters down, and these exactly 120 millimeters across. And that way they will match perfectly when you tile it. To do that, you're going to go into Edit, Preferences, and you're going to come down Behavior to Steps. And arrow keys move by yay amount. In this case, we're going to input 120, push enter. Now at first, I've done this a few times and it hasn't worked. I don't know why. It's worth playing around with to try and get it to work. I don't know why it never worked for me, but I've had a couple of people who said the same thing. It didn't work and we've had to do it another way. But try it this way first. It does make it easier. Okay. So we go like this, and you go Control D on your image, and you push the arrow key. Yes, it worked. And it's popped it down exactly 120 millimeters. Same over this side with this one here. And we're just going to go over to the, on my keyboard, you know, the 4 arrow keys, over, oopsie-doo. Nope, that's not what I want. You want to go Control D and over to the left. That's Control D is for duplicate. And anything that sticks out over the edges, you want to do that. Be very careful. Make sure all these little things, be careful. It's just, you actually have to click part of the design. It can be sometimes a bit fiddly. So I'm just going to try and hit something that's actually got colour on it. There we go. Control D and pop it over, and do that with all of the designs. If it's on the corner, you're going to need to do it twice. If you don't do it twice, you're going to end up with this, where you have a little bit of the bug you can see here that hasn't been duplicated in both the planes. So go back and make sure you have duplicated this one over and up. So he needs to go Control D over, and he also needs to go Control D up. Okay, just to make sure he is in all of the spaces. Okay, what's he doing? Scroll out. Now that's great. Obviously that's not right yet either. We need to make this into a tileable pattern. So you need to recreate this square. You can go Control D and pop it straight over the top like that, or you can create another one and bring it over. Make sure it's exactly the same size though. Control D is easier. And if you're not 100% sure, make sure it is corner to corner. See how it comes up on the screen there, corner to corner. And you also want to make that not transparent. So this is transparency. We'll go into all this stuff later. Go around, make sure your opacity is 100%. It's 100%. Sometimes it can be your layer that's causing it some grief as well. So make sure it's all up at 100%. There you go. Next thing you need to do is you go Control, you select everything, sorry, you just select everything like that, and make sure it's all selected. If one of these things isn't selected completely, see how this one isn't, the hearts on the side there isn't quite going to catch, it's not going to work. You need to select everything. Excuse me, select everything, and you go Object, Clip and Set, and it will remove that top layer, and it will delete everything that's outside of that. And then you end up with this, which is your, it's exactly the same, this is the one I did earlier. You end up with your tile, and this is what you need to send to the printer. But you need to have it exported into a PNG or JPEG. Inkscape exports into a PNG format. So what you do here is you select your square. You can group it all at this point too, so you can go Object Group, and then you end up with one square like that if you want to. So you've got your design here selected. Now we're going to go over to Export PNG Image. Again, this is why it's important you've already changed to 300 dpi, because you can't change it at this point. Whether they've changed that in Inkscape since the last version, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think so. Make sure you hit Selection up the top. It might not default to that. If it defaults to Drawing or Page or anything like that, it just won't work. So make sure it's on Selection, and you've only got your square selected. If you select anything else with it, it's going to do something crazy. Don't do that. Make sure you just have your square selected. You're going to hit Export As. Save it wherever. I've got mine in Inkscape files, whatever you want to go. So we just call it, we can just call this test1. It saves it as PNG. It doesn't give you any other options. And then you just hit Save. Then you need to push Export. So over here, you hit Export, and it'll go ding, 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 Export. And then to check it, we are going to go into this website here called Doyle's Tile Tester. and you open the, your folder, and test 1, you just simply drag it across. And here, oops, I keep pushing the arrow key for, zoom it out, and here you have your design all done. That's ready to go, and you can submit that file off to the printer, and that's good to go. Torus tile tester again is really good. Make sure you don't follow that 100% thinking that that's the correct size. That's really important. Other things that is good to know. Oh, this is the same step if you have, say, you buy a seamless pattern from one of the companies, a graphic artist. So say you buy this tile here, which is a pattern. I didn't create this. This was a bought image. You do exactly the same thing. Export as, save as something, export it. Make sure you do both steps. It's on selection. It will do that. And then you have this fabric as well. Keep pushing that button. Here we go. Okay, it's a slightly square sort of a design, but you get the idea. Anything that you purchase that's a tile, if you just pull it into Inkscape, select it, export it at 300 dpi, then you're good to go, and that is your square. But we'll talk about that in another video. And that is how to create a fabric square in Inkscape. Obviously there's a lot more stuff you can do with that. This is a really simplistic design. It's still not quite spaced out as well as I would like it. You can add a lot of extra stuff into it. There's lots of other things you can do. See, what else have I got? Let's go to Inkscape. Drawing. There's an Inkscape actually. Sorry. If we go into send to printer, there's a whole heap of other things you can pull in. So here's some other designs. That one I made. This is a bought one. This, my daughter loves her pants made out of this. That's one of her favorites. There's all sorts of things you can do. Here's what I'm working on at the moment. It's going to have some splodges and writing and stuff all over it. It's like the back of a graffiti wall. I did this in Critter, which has an amazing seamless setup for doing art drawings and things. So you can just draw on the square, but it will put it over the other side, so you can see what it looks like seamless straight away. It's really good. I will show you that at another time. My daughter's swimmers. She's got swimmers made out of that. It's one of the very, very early ones that I started making. One of the first things I did. And nutcracker fabrics. Oh, they're my panels. And this is my these are my panels for my daughter's nutcracker dresses. So this will be the bottom of the skirt through here, and then this goes up to the waistband. So that's the basic overview, I guess, for how to use Inkscape. Brief recap: so you buy your artwork, save it to your computer, you download Inkscape, you make sure it's set at 300 dpi, you import your artwork, you create a square tile, you put your artwork onto the tile, you make sure it's all nicely spaced around the edges, then you use the steps button to move it around. The other thing you can do with that, the way I often do it when the steps wasn't working for me, was transform button. You can do it this way as well, where you select a let's just quickly pop into here, sorry. Select your thing here and you Control D and you move it horizontally, negative, just put a negative 120, and and apply, and it will bump it over to the other side. Okay, that's obviously not right. Oh, that's because that square isn't 120. That's 130, that's why. But the same principle applies. 120, negative will move it this way, positive will move it that way, negative will drop it down from the vertical axis, and normal will move it up, so it's just the other way to do it. But you can use steps all that way. And then you create your next step is you get your square, put it on over the top. You go object, clip, set, bang, to get rid of everything around the outside. Then you select it, then you export it, save it where you want to, and then make sure you hit export, and there you have your PNG file to turn into fabric. I hope that helps. If there's any questions, please let me know, and I'll come back and do some more detailed videos on some of the more finer points. And yeah, I hope that is helpful. As I said, hit subscribe and send me a message. Tell me if there's anything in particular that you really want to know, or anything that wasn't really very clear, or even if you have a better way of doing this. Don't forget, I'm not a graphic designer. This isn't my day job. I'm a nurse, so this is quite different for me. So if you've got a better way of doing something, please by all means let me know. But to start off with, this is fairly basic, so hopefully that's been of help to you guys. Alright, I'll catch you around in the next one. Thanks.